Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. Pleased to be joined by Stephen Spranger, the head football coach at Clare. Stephen, welcome back to the show.
Thanks for having me back, Casey.
All right. So good start to the season so far. 3-0 on the year. Best start that you guys have had in a few years. What has it been like to just to get some really big wins to start off the year?
It's been huge. Like you said, we haven't had this type of start in the last few years, and when you're playing the likes of Freeland and Ithaca, game one, in the past, like we have, that you run the risk of starting with a setback here or there. But the guys have really bought into what we've kind of thrown out offensively and defensively, and we've done really well. The guys are making adjustments on the fly, and they're really flying high right now.
Yeah. Okay, so really, and I know you just played your first in the newly christened Jack Pine Conference, even though you were always there.
Mm-hmm.
But playing that first conference game with one of the new teams that entered in with Midland Bullet Creek, and obviously, as you know, we'll get to this week's opponent in a minute. But what has it been like just to now that you're into conference play? What's it gonna be like these next few weeks?
The staff and I were just talking today before we had our team meeting, and we can't really think of. I mean, we're taking this one game at a time, because that's what you have to do. But taking a step back and looking at the schedule as a whole, I don't think we've had this stretch of games that we've had in the regular season, at this difficult level, in a long time. I mean, we were going back to the days of when it was Houghton Lake in the conference and Meridian and all those teams when they were really, really good. Roscommon, you might have had one, maybe two together, but the fact that we have now 3, 4, 5 games in a row of just really quality teams and quality opponents, it's really going to bring out the best in teams.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, this week's opponent is, with Gladwin coming in with, of course, you guys going to Brockhoff Field, going to play Gladwin. Obviously, I know they've gotten you guys the last few years, but this is obviously, and it's kind of turned into a little bit of a rivalry. Obviously, we highlighted this last year, but obviously you and Mark are pretty close. Obviously, you both went to Clare.
Mm-hmm.
What anytime that you and Gladwin get together, can you just kind of describe like what that is like for the Clare community and stuff?
I mean, I would say like the buildup and everything like that is a little bit heightened, just because it's not necessarily between the Mark and the me thing. It's the fact that Gladwin's had success, and really they've had our number the last few years, to be blunt about it. So. And really, I mean, in the conference, hasn't really been any other team that's had our number in the past, for quite a while. So having that switch and just that, like, whoa, Gladwin's pretty good, and that community perception of recognizing that Gladwin's a quality opponent, just that kind of heightened, like, level of this is a big game and everybody knows it's a big game. That's kind of the vibe around town.
Yeah. And I know it's been a while since we've had you on, but just kind of remind the people watching this channel some of the names to really who's really kind of doing well, or is there a position group doing well, or just maybe some of the guys that have really kind of stood out for this team that people may not know, or people may have forgotten.
Yeah, we're lucky to have a lot of talented kids on the team. We're extremely athletic and extremely fast. But everything, I mean, football starts with the quarterback. So, our quarterback, a 3-year starter, Jaden Arthur, he's off to a tremendous start. 11 touchdowns, in 3 games is something that we really haven't had, in a long time, and he's completing it at over a 70% clip. So, that's tremendous. And then obviously the one of our dynamic athletes, Ryan Lauch, both offensively and defensively. He's going to get the ball, for rushing yards. He's going to get the ball out in space. He's going to be able to take the top off, as a receiver. He's another one. Jacob Halachek is a big bodied receiver that's also a threat to take it the distance. We have Conan Weeks playing in the slot for us, Dane Alexander playing in the slot, and then obviously Aiden Van Bon, as our running back. So really those are the main guys right now as far as the stat guys, but any good coach will tell you that it's the guys up front that really makes everything go. So our offensive line that we was a really big question mark for us coming in has really started to solidify itself and started to do a lot of good things. And probably the leader of that group, I'll pick out two, has been Chase Randall and Dawson Babcock. Those two guys, Dawson was our lone returner on the offensive line. He's moved from right tackle to center and done a really good job for us. And then Chase Randall was a tight end the last 2 years for us and moved to right tackle for us. So those guys have really done a good job of kind of solidifying that group to allow the athletes that I mentioned before to really excel.
Absolutely. Entering in this really kind of tough stretch. I mean, I know Standish Sterling you still have. I mean, obviously Ogama Heights is still on the schedule. What are these next few weeks are going to be, and of course Shepherd as well. What are these next few weeks going to be like, for this team as you kind of try to head into as bigger opponents and tougher opponents are on the way?
Yeah, well, I mean, it starts and ends with Gladwin. We can talk about the rest of the teams in the conference when we're playing them, but we cannot overlook this team that we're playing come Friday, especially after they're coming off a loss. I I would venture out to guess that Mark's record after a loss is pretty dang good. And there's a reason for that. So they're going to adjust. They're really going to galvanize the team, and they're going to be ready to go at home. So we have to be playing at our best, and all our attention right now is on Gladwin. And yes, the league is tough, and we got some tough games coming down the road. But you kind of as the season goes on, those games will continue to get magnified by what you do now. So if you don't take care of business now and do what you need to do now, the rest of that doesn't even matter anyway.
Yeah. Okay. So let's talk about Gladwin for a second. I know obviously we talked all about Gladwin. You can watch that other show I co-host with Mark. Yes, of course. If you want this week's episode of the Flying G Huddle is up, so you can go watch that if you want to know more about that. But what impresses you about Gladwin? What are some of the things that you guys need to do to really come away with the W on Friday?
I mean, what impresses me every single time is just their execution, and that I mean, their coaching staff puts them in a tremendous position. And that's Mark Dresser on the offense, and obviously Cody Emiot and the rest of the staff on defense, and they're always going to put themselves in a position to be successful. So really, the last few years, it's all right. This is what we're going to prepare for, and then we have to be able to be prepared to make adjustments off of what we see of what they do. And obviously last year, we did a tremendous job of that at the beginning. And they were better than us making adjustments, and they ran away with it in the fourth quarter. So that's always something that you can expect with Gladwin. And with that execution, they're always going to put their athletes in the position to make big plays. And obviously they got some great athletes, starting with Trace Corlew, probably one of the better athletes in the conference. And then, like I said, with Jaden, it starts with their quarterback, Colton Finnegar. He's a great leader, and he does a really good job for them. So those are the I mean, for lack of a better term, what we're anticipating going in. But what I've been telling our guys all along, our kind of MO is explosive plays and turnovers. So if we can limit their explosive plays and we have more explosive plays and somehow come out in the positive for the turnover battle, more than likely you're going to come out in a good spot.
Yep. All right. Well, Stephen, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us about how the season's going so far, and best of luck to you guys against Gladwin.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Casey.